So when Xiaomi launched the Redmi Note 8 Pro, the Note 8 also caught a lot of people's attention, primarily because it offered incredible specs for just shy of rupees 10,000. So when Xiaomi sent across a unit of the Note 8 for review, I was like, okay, should we do a review or just compare it to the best phones under rupees 10,000? And that is what this video is going to be about. We're going to be comparing the Redmi Note 8 against two other phones that I think are really good under rupees 10,000, which is the Vivo U10 and the Realme 5. In fact, we haven't reviewed any of these phones on our channel yet, so you can consider this entire comparison as a full review, individual full review for these phones. Primarily because I'm going to be talking across a multitude of parameters, which includes the display, the performance, the camera, the software, you name it, all of that. So you know what? Let's not waste any more time. I'm Ershad from Mr. Phone, and this is our comparison of the Redmi Note 8 against Vivo U10 and the Realme 5. But before we move on, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon right next to it to get notified whenever Mr. Phone puts out an awesome new tech video. And when you're talking about the design of the three phones, all the three look very similar and they look really nice in my opinion, especially in this blue color, gradients that they've got going on. I really like the look of the phones. Having said that, the Vivo U10 is definitely chunkier than the other two. Also, let's not forget that the Vivo U10 and Realme 5 are generally slightly chunkier than the Redmi Note 8, primarily because both these phones come with a 5000 mAh battery inside. The one thing that I noticed was that the Redmi Note 8 and the Vivo U10 both have a flat back on the rear compared to the curved back on the Realme 5. Plus, the Realme 5 has a taller aspect ratio of 20:9, which makes it easier to hold and grip and use with one hand. So the ergonomics are definitely better on the Realme 5 in my opinion. Having said that, the Redmi Note 8 has one trump card over the other two, which is that the Redmi Note 8 comes with Corning Gorilla Glass 5 on the front and the back as well. Compared to that, the Realme 5 and the Vivo U10 both come with a plastic back on the rear, which makes the Redmi Note 8 far more premium to touch and use when you're using it in daily life. Now, while I did talk about the colors, all the three phones have gradients on the rear, so that's definitely interesting. But there's one interesting tweak that Xiaomi has done with the Redmi Note 8, and I found that very cool in a certain way, is that the bezels on the front also have the gradient pattern. It's not just black entirely on the front, so you've got the blue streaks running along the edges. It looks really cool in my opinion. However, there are a couple of problems with the Redmi Note 8's design. One of the problems is that the fingerprint scanner has a very tiny area compared to the other two phones. Plus, I don't know why Xiaomi had to add the Redmi tag at the bottom bezel. It just looks a little odd in my opinion. So while looks are subjective, somebody might prefer the Realme 5 or the Vivo U10 over the Redmi Note 8. Having said that, the Redmi Note 8 has these extra toppings that make it stand out from the other two, which is of course the fact that it's got a glass body on the front and the back. Plus, it's also got a Type-C port, which is missing on the other two phones. Alright, so now let's move on to the display and I'll keep this short. All the three phones come with a dot-notch IPS LCD panel, but there are 4 reasons why the Redmi Note 8 has objectively the better display compared to the other two. First, it's got a Full HD Plus panel, which looks really good, crisp, bright compared to the other two phones. Secondly, you've got Corning Gorilla Glass 5 on the Redmi Note 8 compared to Corning Gorilla Glass 3 on the Realme 5, and I don't know what protection is there on the Vivo U10. And thirdly, the brightness outdoors is definitely better on the Redmi Note 8. And finally, if you're talking about accuracy and color accuracy of the display, again, the Redmi Note 8 is definitely better. Now, while I was testing, one of the things that I noticed is that sadly, the Realme 5 doesn't come with wideband L1 certification. So, HD streaming on apps like Amazon Prime and Netflix is not going to be a possibility. But you get that on the Vivo U10 and the Redmi Note 8. So overall, the best display is definitely the Redmi Note 8. Looking at the wide picture, you can clearly see that the Redmi Note 8 Pro has a much sharper picture at 100% crop. The Vivo U10's sample looks drab in an effort to look natural. The Realme 5 is a nice balance between the two, especially when it comes to color temperature and overall colors. But once again, I can't emphasize enough on how good the sharpness and the details are on the Redmi Note 8 sample. Talking about the close-ups, the flower looks good in the Realme 5's shot, but it completely misses out on the dynamics by glazing over the white streaks on the flower. The Note 8's image has the dynamics and details too. The Vivo U10 follows closely behind it with a fairly polished picture. The second close-up is where the Vivo strikes back wonderfully. Most budget phones struggle at reproducing the red color accurately, and that is evident from the picture of the Nike Air Force 1 shoes captured by the Redmi Note 8 and the Realme 5. The Vivo U10 not only nails the color but also the details. What you are seeing on your screen right now are the macro shots from the Realme 5 and the Redmi Note 8. While I'm not a fan of the macro implementation with focusing issues and below average image quality, the Redmi Note 8 is still the better one between the two with a closer focusing distance and a slightly better image quality overall. I had a wonderful scene to test the dynamic range where the tonal range was really extensive. Here you can clearly see how all the three handled processing. You can see that the Redmi Note 8 has a lot of noise in the shadows, and so does the Realme 5. The Vivo U10 does a good job of denoise effect, but when it comes to the colors and overall exposure in the light and the dark areas, the Note 8 really does an incredible job. However, I really wish Xiaomi could have done something to reduce the noise in the shadows. Looking at the portrait shots, I quite like the dynamic range control and the color accuracy of the shot on Realme 5. The edge detection is better than the other two phones as well. Moreover, the background blur looks as convincing as the one shot by the Redmi Note 8. However, the details are better on the Note 8 compared to the soft image produced by the Realme 5. The U10's portrait is below average. Overall, I'd pick the Realme 5. When it comes to the ultra-wide angle camera, the U10 has an ever so slightly wider field of view. However, the Redmi Note 8 and Realme 5 images are the ones that look impressive, albeit with the slightly different color tones chosen by both the phones. I'd pick either one of the two to shoot wide-angle shots in good light. The one thing that I have noticed consistently while reviewing Realme's cameras is the excellent selfies you can get from its phones. The Realme 5's selfie just obliterates the competition. This includes the selfie portrait shot. For some odd reason, despite digging in, I couldn't find the selfie portrait option in the U10. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, let me know. In the 1080p 30fps video, you get stabilization on the Redmi Note 8 and the Realme 5, but only the Realme 5's footage is entirely stable. The Redmi Note 8 has unwanted jerks and maybe some frame drops as well that makes it look quite odd. Plus, Realme 5's video quality is great too. When I checked the low light samples, I was shocked at how good the Redmi Note 8 was. I mean, it just decimates the competition even without night mode on. In fact, the Vivo U10 doesn't even have night mode. With night mode on, the Redmi Note 8's white balance is off, but oh my god, the details at 100% crop. I haven't seen such a clean shot from a sub 10,000 rupees phone in my life. Seriously, we as consumers are living in the golden era of smartphone photography. Cumulatively, the Redmi Note 8 is the best smartphone camera under rupees 10,000 right now, period. So coming to the software bit, all of these phones have a custom skin over Android 9 Pie. You know, you get MIUI on the Redmi Note 8, you get ColorOS on the Realme 5, and you get Vivo's FunTouch OS on the Vivo U10. Now, when you're looking at software itself, I feel that this is my order of, which software I like. It is MIUI, ColorOS, and then you've got FunTouch OS. Why I particularly like MIUI is that it's been polished over the years, and it feels a lot more design cohesive compared to the other two software, which are all over the place in my opinion. Like ColorOS is doing a good job, but FunTouch is definitely all over the place. But yes, ads are an issue. That is going to be there on the MIUI. But it seems like ads are also percolating into ColorOS on the Realme according to latest news. So I don't know, it's all on par. Even Vivo's FunTouch OS has ads as well. So ads are everywhere. You cannot, avoid that. But having said that, overall, I think my pick for the best software would be MIUI compared to the other two. Mileage could vary. You could possibly prefer the app drawer that you get with ColorOS and stuff like that. But having said that, MIUI is really polished. It's very well done. The gestures are nice. All of the other things are very well done. Other apps along with it on all the three phones and kept it on for like around half an hour. And the only phone that sort of reloaded PUBG and had to restart it was Realme 5. These two actually had PUBG in memory, and all the three phones come with 4 GB of RAM, mind it. All the three phones that we tested come with 4 GB of RAM. So that is one thing that I find on ColorOS is not that good. So, it is aggressive memory management that I even noticed that, it was even pushing brightness down. So auto brightness would actually pull down the brightness a lot, which was a problem with ColorOS. Now, all the three phones, as you guys already know, come with Snapdragon 665. So what you see on your screen right now is a benchmark comparison of all the scores, from Antutu to Geekbench to even storage comparison, you can see that all of them are in touching distance of each other. There's not much separating the two because the specs are almost very similar. One of the things that everybody would be doing when they buy these phones is play PUBG. I mean, of course, all of these phones can play PUBG, but they play it at low settings by default, all of them. So basically what you get is smooth graphics with high FPS, which means that it tops out at 30 FPS, which is what I noticed. But what I noticed also while testing is that the Redmi Note 8 is slightly more stable when compared. The FPS stability is slightly better when compared to the Vivo U10 and the Realme 5 as well. But the other thing that I noticed is that the Realme 5 has better touch latency compared to the other two, and the Vivo U10's oleophobic coating is a little weird, so I found sticky fingers while playing PUBG. So overall, all three phones can play PUBG fine. There shouldn't be a problem. I mean, they will play at low settings, so don't crank up the graphics. But if you want to do that, I think you should have to spend slightly more to get a better gaming performance from graphics intensive games. Otherwise, if you're playing casual games, it should be fine. Now, when it comes to the call performance and network performance, I actually tested them out on the three phones and I didn't face any problems as such. Call quality was almost on par with the Redmi Note 8, giving me the best sound quality through the earpiece. But otherwise, I mean, it's almost on par, and the network performance on 4G on Airtel here in Delhi NCR was pretty good. No problem on all the three phones. Plus the Wi-Fi performance is also good. All the three, you can connect to 5 GHz networks, so that's good as well. Now coming to the battery performance, by default the specs are different. You get 5000 mAh on the Vivo U10 and you get 5000 mAh on the Realme 5, whereas you get a smaller 4000 mAh battery on the Redmi Note 8. By virtue of that, plus the HD display compared to Full HD on the Note 8, you invariably get better battery life on the Realme 5 and the Vivo U10. But the Vivo U10 has one trump card over the Realme 5, and that is the fact that it comes with 18 watt fast charging. And the same is available for the Redmi Note 8 as well. You get 18 watt fast charging plus the charger inside the box on the Redmi Note 8. So that's really, really good. Having said that, if you want a phone for the best battery life, you should pick up the Vivo U10 because you'll get better battery life plus fast charging capabilities as well. So that's definitely an advantage on the Vivo U10. And as far as battery performance is concerned, you can easily eke out 2 days of moderate usage on the Vivo U10 and the Realme 5. But on the Redmi Note 8, you'll be able to get around 1.5 days, which is still pretty good enough in my opinion. I mean, overall battery performance wise, you might get slightly better battery life on the Vivo U10 and slightly better fast charging on the Redmi Note 8. It's not like it's bad. Now coming to audio performance, I tested them out and you've got mono speakers on all the three, and objectively the Vivo U10 sounds the worst of the lot and the Redmi Note 8 sounds the best of the lot, and of course the Realme 5 is in between. So the Redmi Note 8 has the loudest speaker, but that's not it. It's also got clarity across the frequency spectrum from the lows to the highs to the mids. All of that is slightly better on the Redmi Note 8. For sure the Redmi Note 8 has a better speaker compared to the other two. Now when it comes to audio performance through earphones, I tried out the One More Triple drivers with these, and the One More Triple drivers sounds really good on the Redmi Note 8, which goes for a balanced output compared to the slightly bassy output on the Realme 5. I think that's what a lot of the masses would prefer. So the Realme 5 is a little more has a little more emphasis on the low end compared to the Redmi Note 8, which is slightly more neutral. Now the Vivo U10 is not bad either. It gets the job done, nothing more, nothing less. But overall for audio performance, again, I'll pick the Redmi Note 8 over the other two phones. Okay, now coming to the part where we're talking about value for money. All of these phones are value for money, come on guys. I mean, it's just 10,000 rupees. But objectively looking at it, you get 4GB, 64GB of storage on the Realme 5 and the Redmi Note 8 for 10,000 rupees, but you get only 3GB, 64GB storage on the Vivo U10. So if you want 4GB storage, you would have to spend 1,000 rupees more. I mean, of course, there are a lot of sales and everything happening, so the price could get cut, but you have to pay 10,999 for the 4GB, 64GB variant for the Vivo U10. So when you look at overall value for money, I think that the Redmi Note 8 is incredible value for money. You get so many features for such low price. I think that it's just too good. It's not like the Realme 5 or the Vivo U10 are bad, but it's just that the competition is getting even more fierce. I'm just loving the fact that you have so many options in the market. So that's it. That was the entire comparison, and in the end, I would pick the Redmi Note 8 over the other two phones. The Redmi Note 8 just has so much going for it, so many things that are so much better than the Realme 5 and the Vivo U10. My second choice would be the Realme 5 and the third choice would be the Vivo U10. But the Redmi Note 8 has a excellent high resolution display, plus it's got great camera performance as well, and the performance overall is just really good. There are so many things that are going for the Redmi Note 8, and I think that it just gives it so much of an edge over the other two phones. What do you guys think? Do let me know in the comment section below. Until next time, this is Ershad from Mr. Phone signing off. Goodbye and Godspeed, my friends.